Hello everyone, warm welcome to all to my channel World of Zoology. We have already finished first 6 points of the unit 1 of the paper first, that is Wonders of Animal World, and now we'll continue next point, that is 7 point bird migration. For the sake of convenience, this bird migration topic is divided into part 1 and part 2. In this lecture, I would like to continue with the part 1 that includes definition, the is necessary of the bird migration, various types of changes carried out in the body of the bird for the migration, that is preparatory phase for the migratory purpose, navigation, and why bird migrate. And then we'll continue the same topic in the part 2 of the second part of the lecture. So we'll continue part 1, bird migration. What a wonderful phenomenon. Nobody in India can fail to notice great influx of birds that occurs annually between September and November. Migration, which is occur in birds, and one can note the fluttering ducks, geese, cranes, small birds like sandpipers, wagtails, larks, etc. Migration is one of the most amazing aspects of bird behavior that requires both endurance and ability to navigate. But before going into the detail, we must know what is migration. Migration can be broadly defined as the movement of animal beyond the boundary of its normal inhabited home range. In case of birds, migration can be defined as the long distance movements, especially the regular seasonal movements between breeding and feeding or wintering places. Migration often involves movements over thousands of kilometers, especially in case of birds nesting in northern latitudes. The magnitude of movement, the regularity and orderliness of their occurrence are so accurate that it has aroused the curiosity of man through the ages. Landsborough Thompson, a famous ornithologist, described bird migration as a response to seasonal changes in habitat, periodically recurring, which tends to acquire maximum favorable environmental condition at all times. Although birds are least affected of all the animals by extremes of heat and cold, they generally migrate through adversities of food availability, being homeothermic animals. During migration, many birds return to same migratory stops over sites, just as they may return to the same breeding and wintering sites year after year. The movements of birds may vary from few miles to several thousand miles. The longest known migratory journey is performed by Arctic tern from Arctic to Antarctic region, summer and back, thus covering a distance of 11,000 miles along each path. In birds, the temptation for migration at a suitable season is stimulated by both external factors and the natural instinct. One of the primary external stimuli is the variation in day length, whose coordination appears to be accomplished by interaction of internal rhythms. And then we'll consider the various facts which are responsible for the migration, that is why birds migrate: to get more food, to disperse their own breeding to different regions all over the world, to protect their babies, to get away from the predators, to get away from diseases, to seek more warmer or cold climatic conditions. Now we'll consider the various types of changes which occurs in the body of the birds during the migration. Migration is a complex sequence of events integrating the physiology and behavior of bird. Fat is the principal material which is stored within the body of the bird, and hence bird undergo a period of heavy feeding and pre-migratory fattening. In that process, fat deposit in the body cavity and the weight of the bird increases due to deposition of the fat in the subcutaneous tissues that increases tenfold, ultimately reaching tenfold of the body mass. Fat is metabolized rapidly when migratory process begins. Many birds migrate at night and eat during daytime. Even diurnal migrants divide the day into period of migratory flight and period of feeding. The internal stimulus seems to be state of reproductive organ like enlargement of gonads, which is also determined by the end of the autumn season. These changes are brought about by photoperiodism. Here we must remember that annual changes in day length is the photoperiodism. Amongst all environmental cues, photoperiod is considered as the most reliable and predictive. Another, that is glucagon level, is elevated during the preparation for migration. This is because maximum glucose is utilized during flight, and which is used as the source of energy by the animal. Birds acquire assisting skills that permit travel with least expenditure of energy. In spring, the adult males arrive first at their breeding ground, followed by the females, while the young birds line up at the end of the season. While the order of departure is reversed in the autumn, that means first the young ones, departure of the young ones takes place, followed by the female, and lastly the male birds start their return journey. In spring, the adult males also shows the young birds. They do not have previous experience regarding the route and destination. Therefore, they acquire the unmatched capability to overcome the distance of thousands of miles without trapping themselves in any difficulty. This ability, according to some investigator, is due to inborn instinct and racial customs inherited through countless generations year after year when migration occurs, and these migrating birds during their breeding and wintering grounds. Many species of the birds enter a refractory period after breeding, due to which they become unresponsive to photoperiodism. Their gonads regress to the non-breeding condition and they molt. Decreasing photoperiodism is the next point in the autumn that accelerates southward migration of birds. Thus, responses of bird to changes in day length is an endogenous rhythm. It is an astonishing fact that birds not only return to the same general locality for breeding but also to identical nesting site. It is also believed that once the bird return to their general locality, the former experience of the previous visits unerroneously dances in front of their vision. Interestingly, evidence shows that Siberian cranes not only winter to the same locality in Keolado Ghana National Park in Rajasthan at the Bharatpur, but also landed precisely in the same block for the nesting purpose year after year, covering a distance of 6,000 km till 2003. That is one of the observation, that they occupy the same area and the same block for during this migration process. Now navigation in birds, that is the next point. Migratory birds use variety of cues for navigation, like the position of sun, polarized light, earth's magnetic field, and infrasound. Some birds detect UV light and sense low frequency sound well below the frequencies human ear can hear. These sounds are generated by ocean waves and air masses moving over mountains, thus signaling a general direction over thousands of kilometers. But their use as a cues for navigation remains obscure. Some birds like pigeon can navigate by recognizing airborne odors as they pass over the terrain. Here we must consider the two forms of the navigation which birds can use. One, that is route-based navigation, involves keeping track of landmarks. The landmark may be visual or auditory on an outward journey so that those landmarks can be used in reverse sequences on the their returning trip. Second navigation form is the location based navigation, is based on establishing the direction of destination from information available at the journey site of origin. It involves the use of sun compasses over celestial clues and the earth magnetic field. Bird lenses are transparent to UV light and their photoreceptor respond to it, allowing them to orient using sun and even the cloudy days. This orientation cue is called as sun compass because sun moves through the sky between sunrise and sunset. Birds use internal clock to perceive that the sun rises in the east and is approximately overhead at the noontime and sets in the west. The biological clock of the migratory bird can be altered. Here, night migration can also orient using the sun by flying. This diagram shows the migratory route through the India. 10 types of birds that follow these birds follow the migratory routes from east to west, west to east, north to south. That is the routes which are followed by the 10 types of birds here shown in this diagram, and the south north movement or the east west movement is shown in these migratory routes. Thank you for watching video. Share, like and subscribe for the benefit of the maximum student, and here we conclude the migration in birds, that is a definition. Why do birds migrate, the physiological changes that takes place during migration in birds. But before summing or ending our lecture, we must know certain points which are to be remembered at the end of the lecture, that is sequence of the events for the onset of migration, and which are as follows. The endogenous component originates from the various physiological processes. Second one, the endogenous component prepared animal for the annual event, that is onset of the seasonal migration. And third one, photo period then synchronizes this preparedness with the exact day when migration is required to be start. And then we'll consider the next point, that is types of migration, in our next lecture. Thank you once again for watching this video.